Welcome back to the Multiverse Fan Cast. If you're taking us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and basically anywhere you listen to podcasts. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me in the studio today is Ronnie. Ronnie, how are you today?
Oh, I'm Ronnie.
You are Ronnie.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you for asking. And we have Rob. Rob, how are you today?
Stuffy.
Yep, for those of you guys who don't know, Rob unfortunately had some minor nose surgery.
So over this past summer, I
nose
face
job.
planted into a sea rock in the middle of Key West, Florida, and broke my own nose. And so I just had it corrected this week, and they rebroke it for me. And so I've got a big, nice cast on my nose. And so if I sound a little stuffy and you hear me sniffing a little bit, that's why. And I offered to our hosts to say, hey, you want to count me out this week because I sound like absolute ass. But they were okay with it, so I'm here.
That's
Hi.
fine. It's fine. It's fine. We're not that high production anyway. Well, actually, fun fact: we are recording on our brand new Mac computer. So if the audio gets wonky at any point, it is my fault.
Blame
So
it on the apple, not on my surgery.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But so we are excited to talk to you guys. We had a great episode last week where we talked about some of the greatest superhero teams of all time, and we were racking our brains because obviously we have Spider-Man coming out in the next couple of weeks, so we're gonna really be focusing on that. We also have Kingsman coming out at the end of the month, and we realized we'd never done a retro review for those movies, so we had most of December planned out. But then we were like, well, what do we want to do for the first week? What's something we can, a fun topic that we can bring up or a fun show that we haven't talked about? And then we were talking, well, we did superhero TV shows already, superhero teams. So why not talk about a specific one? And then we thought of The Boys from Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Garth Ennis's The Boys.
The Boys.
The boys are back in town.
Ironically, still not the name of the team, actually.
No?
But,
Well.
well, about that. So, before we do that, though, we are going to jump into a little bit of news. So, I think Rob's got the news.
I've got the nasally news today.
we
So
go,
the first
guys.
thing that comes up is something we just watched, which is a new trailer for Peacemaker, which is coming out on January 13th. We're a little bit divided on the Peacemaker right now after seeing that because I think it threw so much at us that we really know how to feel about it. Tonally, we're not sure what it's going to be like, if it's going to be funny, if it's going to be tragic, if it's going to be like The Boys. So, Ronnie, you seem to be the most split on it.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm excited to see it. I feel like we all are because I think we all love the character in the movie. So excited to see it, but like you said, it seems like it's trying to be funny, but it's also trying to be dramatic, and the funny just wasn't really landing. I felt like the trailer had a lot of comedy attempts, but there was I was trying to watch your reactions because I saw it before you guys did, so I was trying to watch your reactions, and I think I saw maybe 2 chuckles from you guys.
Yeah.
Even though it made multiple jokes. So a little nervous, but also excitement to see it.
All right, Paul, how are you feeling about it?
We know what we're going to get with John Cena's Peacemaker
Right.
at this point. He was a highlight of the Suicide Squad, so I'm looking forward to it. And it's James Gunn's involved, which is always a plus. And then, it's weird because like Suicide Squad was a really good movie, but it didn't do nearly as well as people thought it was going to do. More just the money side, but that's also to be expected with COVID and everything that was going on. So I don't know. I'm excited. I want to see what they do with it. I want to see how it kind of ties into the rest of the universe. And yeah, I think that's
All right.
Those are my thoughts.
Second item I've got up is that this past Monday, Cyber, whatever they were calling it, Monday happened, and tickets went on sale. Ronnie, did you get your tickets?
Yes, sir.
Paul, did you get your
know it.
tickets?
Yeah, Ronnie bought them for me.
Did I get my tickets?
Oh.
So it turns out that I realized I have a wedding to go to on the same day that Spider-Man comes out, and I'm in Florida at the time, so I got to figure out when and where I'm going to see it. So yeah, my pre-ticket sales aren't happening. However, everyone else in the country seemed to be buying them, and ticket sales were the second highest that they'd been since Avengers Endgame. So they're anticipating a really huge turnout. People are already purchasing tickets and trying to scalp them for, quote, thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
So
That just gave me an idea.
No. I gave up that Thursday at 4:15 for this.
Oh, you're doing the 4:15?
No. I thought about it, but in all honesty, like seeing a movie like that, I want to see it with people and friends, and I think it's going to be me and Ronnie. I said yes to the dress fitness. Is that Jackie's?
Not I said yes.
No.
To the it's just I said yes fitness.
I said yes fitness, and Bibliophiles Assemble producer Melody.
Yeah, I wanted to go.
We're gonna text you fake spoilers the entire time,
right?
Just fake spoilers. Oh my god, I can't believe Batman jumped in. Just like the most random fake spoilers of all time. But
Superman died.
that-
That's the rumor I hear.
I'm still not ready for that.
And then the third thing that I have is, well, Tom Holland had announced that he was going to be done, that this was his last Spider-Man movie, and then all of a sudden they announced a new trilogy. And he commented on it. He goes, "Yeah, well, I'll do it whatever they want." And Marvel and Disney confirmed it, that there will be another Spider-Man trilogy past this 3.
Yes. So Amy Pascal, who runs Sony, she was the one that broke the news, and which nobody was expecting, because Tom Holland was on record going, "I don't want to play Spider-Man when I'm old."
30s, and yeah.
I definitely think he was fibbing about that, because in all honesty, like, he's one of the biggest fans of Spider-Man. Like, he talked about it for years, that was his dream role, and he always wanted to do it. I know he's got a lot of other projects that are lined up. He's a really like hot commodity at this point.
Oh, he's got the Uncharted movie coming.
Uncharted. Yep. People are talking about him for James Bond, which I think he's way too
young.
young.
No, it's
way
like
too,
watching
way too
my
young.
kid brother playing James Bond.
Way
now.
too young to play, even like a young James Bond. Mm-hmm. But so he was fanning the fires himself about, and also I'm sure they did not know. Back.
You don't know, yeah.
Backdoor deals happen. I mean, we all remember what happened when Marvel and Sony had their initial
Spider-Man.
Spider fight.
The custody battle there over Spider-Man.
Tom Holland calling mom and dad, "No, guys, come on." But it's smart on their part. Obviously Marvel takes a lot of the proceeds from the Spider-Man franchise, and Sony only really gets the movie proceeds.
Right.
So it's smart on Sony's part. It's better for them in the long run. It's better for Marvel in the long run. I think Spider-Man has been way more successful in the MCU than he has as a solo type character.
Absolutely.
If you guys haven't heard our Sinister Six and
retros.
We did retros on Spider-Man a few months ago, and I think during the lead up, you'll see us. We'll repost all those things on our social media, the Multiverse Fan Cast on Facebook. But yeah, I mean, it was no surprise. I do suspect that they're going to introduce characters like Miles Morales. They mentioned Miles Morales to take over the Spider Mantle at some point, which is the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
He's a very popular character as well. So we'll see what the future of Spider-Man holds.
And to be honest, there's not a lot of other news going on. Like, there's a couple different little things where, like Batgirl started filming, and Blade has got a few things on their docket, but nothing. Maria Hill is in
returning for Secret
Invasion. Like little things here and there. And I think that's kind of the time of the year that we're at right now, whereas at the beginning of December and probably for the rest of the month, there's not going to be a lot of huge announcements. It's a lot of payoff for like shows we've been waiting for all this time. You've got a lot of big premieres, not only Spider-Man, but you've got The Witcher and so many other things that are coming up in the next month. So
that's right, The Witcher's coming out. Maybe there's a bonus episode in our future. I mean, why not? It's our show. We can do whatever we want. We can talk about it on our new show, MF Uncensored, if we really want.
Oh, I'd be down for that.
I wouldn't say no to some Netflix enjoyment.
But we that about wraps it up. And we probably won't be seeing too much news for the rest of the month either. It'll be slow and trickling, and it'll be some box office records and stuff like that, especially with Spider-Man coming up. But not much else in terms of casting, because a lot of people go on the holidays during December. So
it's one of the slower work months. We'll see some stuff around January-ish with the new year. I think San Diego Comic-Con is happening sometime soon. No, did that already happen? That's a good question. I totally caught everybody off guard with that one. But we're not going to see a whole big influx of news until after the new year, most likely. So with the news done, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to discuss what were we talking about again? The Boys. Presented by Vought Industries. But first, a quick break. Today's episode is brought to you by Raise Energy Drinks from Rep Sports. Whether you're trying to crush your afternoon workout or just need a little extra pick-me-up, Raise Energy is just the boost that you're going to need. So if you go to repsports.com and any product that you order, enter the code MISFIT89 at checkout to receive 15% off. Anything that you guys buy from that store helps our network grow, and we fully appreciate everything you guys do. That's MISFIT89 at checkout, repsports.com. All right, we are back, and we are finally going to discuss Amazon Prime's The Boys. Now, initial thoughts on The Boys. So this show came out, what was it?
2019.
2019, and it was...
A hit?
Not even a hit. It was well known that it was going to be the darker side of the superhero genre. At its peak, where superhero movies and TV shows were, there came The Boys.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go with Ronnie. Initial thoughts on The Boys.
I loved it, to be honest with you. I think it's it's based off of what superhero world would look like if it was real. And I'm sure we've all wondered, like, are superheroes real? What would the world be like and everything? And this puts a unique and I think a perspective that some people would have thought have. But I really enjoyed the first season. Second season, I thought, got stronger and better than the first.
Well, because girls get it done in the second season.
Well, that too. Yeah. But, I mean, it had me hooked. I remember watching the first episode, and Jacqueline walked in. She's like, "What are you watching?" And like she couldn't watch it because of
the violence.
The violence, and
at least she didn't walk in when the Deep was just butt ass naked.
Yeah, that, and it's very graphic. I must say, it's very graphic. It's really good, but I feel like you need to have like a taste for it, like if you're
stomach for it,
or a stomach for it, in order to really enjoy it and everything.
Rob, initial thoughts on The Boys?
It's deeply disturbing. I love it. It takes me to a lot of dark places and makes me really consider some things that I'm not comfortable considering. So I do enjoy it tremendously. Garth Ennis is the comic book writer for it, and I was a fan of his years ago when one of my friends introduced me to Preacher of his, which is probably the most disturbing thing I've ever read ever. And so I knew kind of what I was getting into a little bit with The Boys, and I love how it's so grounded in real world politics and corporate business. But yeah, it is queasy. It is nausea-inducing at times, but it's never. I don't know if it's necessarily gratuitous. It's always in service of the plot too. It's never just that way for that way. So, but I enjoy it, and the characters are very, very strong, and I think the casting is wonderful too. I like Carl Urban and his brood, and so I thoroughly enjoy it. How about you, Paul?
So I wasn't sure what to expect with this. I had a vague familiarity with the comics, and obviously I did a little bit of research. I think I had more fun going into it without knowing the comics because it does take a fair amount of liberties with it.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday I ran into producer Mel, and I told her that we were doing The Boys, and she said, "Oh, you should read the comics, to get some research." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I hadn't even thought about that." So last night I read about 7 or 8 different issues of it, and like the first 5 or 6 stick pretty closely, and then it just starts veering way off into its own direction.
At first, it's a lot of gender swapping. Like Stormfront was a man in the comics. I believe Madelyn Sitwell was a man in the comics. So little things like that. You obviously pick your best actor or actress.
Also, in the comics, where the Deep sexually assaults Starlight, all of them do.
Yes. So
it is disturbing.
So really quick before we go any further, we will give not only a mild spoiler warning, but also
trigger warning.
Slight trigger warning. This show is the
Hits
Boys
on every topic.
The Boys does tackle every issue you can possibly imagine and adds this superhero twist to it because it's really the question that you run into is what happens when you have beings that can do whatever they want? And I think that this show does a really good job addressing it.
As opposed to Batman versus Superman.
I'm sorry, what?
Nothing. Go. Carry on, please.
No, I'm sorry if it's not a Marvel show.
Carry on, my
Because you're going to mention Batman vs Superman and be all fresh about it, but
Oh,
they do
absolutely.
reference that project in the show. They're doing like the film The Dawn of the Seven or something like that, and it's like an obvious
it's like Justice League kind of thing.
yeah, it's really rough. But the thing I love about this show is they show what happens in the backgrounds, like what happens behind the scenes. And one of the most powerful things, and again, full spoiler warnings, full trigger warnings
both seasons.
for both seasons 1 and 2. When Queen Maeve gets outed, and then they market it,
Yes.
and they show that process. And you're watching it, you're like, this is how it actually happens in corporate America and the media. You know, obviously, say what you will about American media and all that stuff. It's always an interesting topic, to say the least. If you want to hear more about that, MF Uncensored might tackle that at some point. But it's interesting because that's how big business works. It's how can we make this about the bottom line, that dollar.
Well, that's what I loved so much about season 2 is that when he says, you know, we're unbeknownst to you, and what the myth is that we're in the superhero business. We're not. We're in the pharmaceutical business.
Absolutely.
And that's absolutely, like, you know, something like Disney or AT&T. They're not in the movie business. They're in the telecommunication business, and movies just happen to be a side project of theirs. So it's more accurate to corporate America.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because what would happen if the world did have superpowers, and what happens if these superpowered individuals do exist? It's the oldest debate. It's the oldest philosophical type thing. What happens if the Superman exists? Now, before we dive into the characters, I do want to talk a little bit about. So this show hits home for me because people always ask, like, if superheroes were real, how excited I would be. As you know, I get this question very specifically, and I always say it's the worst thing that could ever possibly happen. And people are like, "What? No, superpowers in real life would be cool." I'm like, they are the worst idea you can possibly imagine. You look at the world, you look at people. If suddenly someone, and I think during our Batman vs Superman discussion, we brought this up, the idea of Superman and how they do introduce, it may not be the most fleshed out story, shut up, Rob, but they do introduce these great concepts where if this Superman, this all-powerful being existed, how would our world change, and how would everything change? You know, Jonathan Kent says it to Clark Kent. He's like, you know, you change everything about the way we view the world and the universe and God and religion and all these things. You would change everything. It's not like it was back in the 1938.
Well, that's what I love so much about the comic Superman Red Son, where the basic premise of it is, what if Clark Kent what if Jor-El, I should say, landed 12 hours later and landed in the middle of Moscow? Because if you think about it,
you mean Kal-El?
Kal-El.
Jor-El died.
Right, sorry.
Yeah,
Kal-El. I don't know my mythos. Kal-El, if he landed 12 hours later, because if you think about it, Kal-El adopts the values of where he lands, which is in the middle of Kansas in America. What if he landed in Moscow, and how would that have changed history? And would America have been the bad guys then, because Superman would have been a symbol of communism instead? And it explores that in Superman Red Son. So yeah, the things would change tremendously. So
it's always interesting when they bring up these concepts about how everything would be very different if the world had superpowered beings. Like Ronnie and I watched Heroes for a long time. Yep. I don't know, Rob, if you ever saw Heroes.
Yeah, I saw the first 2 seasons.
In season, I think it was season 3 or 4, they introduced the idea of a formula that can give superpowers and how the world would change. I mean, you would see this whole class divide. You'd see people taking on God personas. I think we do have a character in The Boys who's like a Jesus type figure. He had elastic powers of all things. But it's a really interesting concept, and I do enjoy the way that they tackle it in this, where superheroes are still deified, but they're also, I hate to say, corporate stooges.
Yeah,
they are. Yeah.
That's what I love about season 2 is Homelander is sort of demoted to corporate stooge.
Because he was the face of all this. He was the Superman of this show. I think even in the comics, I don't know if they bring it up in this, but in the comics they like made up a fake backstory where he same thing. He was an alien from another planet, and all that stuff. But let's go through the cast. It's a large cast. We'll talk about just the main ones and kind of the biggest names of it. And let's start with Carl Urban as William Billy Butcher.
Yes.
I gotta say, having read the comics with him, he nails it. Like I can literally hear Carl Urban talking to me as I'm reading it. The only difference is the facial hair between the two, but he is Billy Butcher, absolutely. And Carl Urban's just amazing. Dredd is still one of my favorite actioners from him.
You know, the first movie I saw him in was Doom, that I can remember, and it's a terrible movie, but I remember him from it, and I've watched him over the years, and he's only gotten better, and he's such a great fan service actor.
Yeah.
Like the problem with Dredd was the original Judge Dredd, Sylvester Stallone wouldn't take off the helmet. Or excuse me, he would. He did.
He
had
Excuse
to,
me.
yeah.
Because he wanted to show his face. I am
Sure.
the law. You know, that's
That's in his contract.
yeah. So
You know.
Yeah,
but
which Carl Urban didn't take it off once
No.
in the whole movie.
and I really enjoy Carl Urban. And also he brings layers to this character, Billy Butcher. Is he good? Is he selfish? Is he bad? Is he this? And you never know where Billy Butcher's going to go in this show. And
Yeah, that's one thing actually that the show does better is that the comics has him be very much right all the time, whereas he's a bit morally compromised in the show.
yeah,
Really? You think so?
I think he.
I really don't think so. I think
Oh, you know?
no. I don't think. I don't know. He's like one of those like hard to read because in the first season it was basically it's my way or the highway,
Right.
which I think if we were all in his situation, I think we would all be like that. You know, like imagine your wife disappears because of Homelander, right?
You think she's dead.
And you think she's dead, well, that's his thought. He thinks she's dead, but later on you find out obviously she just went to who knows where.
Mr. Rogers' creepy neighborhood.
Exactly. I feel like we'd all be in that situation and kind of do exactly what he would be doing and just trying to destroy superhumans.
So there is a difference between Billy Butcher's story in the comics and in the show. In the comics, his wife is not alive. Like she did die.
Yeah, she's dead.
And it's graphic. It's uncomfortable. They do show it a little bit so basically, she does in the comics. She does get raped by Homelander as well, and does produce her the son. But the process kills her. I do believe. I'm
kind of like Lois.
easy. All right, that's not real. But so I would have to double check my mythos on that because I'm not 100%. But so in the comics, the boys they're an actual team, and they are a funded team by the CIA. The CIA provides them with all these things to keep the super people in line, and they have killed supers in the comics. They do it quite often, and I do believe in the comics they all have powers too. They take the
really?
Compound V in the comics. I think like Huey has like super strength or something like in the comics.
I could not.
Yes, he does. He murders somebody.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like, rips him apart.
Yeah, pushes a fist right through.
Speaking of Huey, Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid as
I think perfect casting. Like he just looks
producer
the role.
But yet he looks nothing like the character from the.
He's supposed to
comic.
look
He's
like
supposed to
Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
The original character was based on Simon Pegg. Fun facts: producer Melanie hates Huey.
Really?
Hates him with a fiery passion.
Because of the way he's portrayed.
I don't know. She can't articulate it. She's just like, I just don't like Huey. I like calling him Wee Petite Huey because in the comics that's what they call him, Little Huey or Baby Huey or something like that.
Yeah.
Is it because he's always like a crying baby?
He is a little bit of a crybaby.
You know.
I'll give him that one. But
again, but he's another one, right? All of a sudden, we find out superhumans are real, right? How are we gonna act? We're gonna think it's the coolest thing in the world until someone runs through our significant other.
oh god, that set the tone for the
Right?
show when he
Yeah.
lost his girlfriend like that. Like you suddenly knew exactly what you were getting
Yeah.
yourself into.
I mean, because most shows that A wouldn't happen. B, if it does happen, you are not seeing it happen.
Whiplash. Yeah. I do like how in this show also they do discuss how superpowers affect the world around them.
Yeah.
The idea I don't want to get too graphic, but there's a scene where the ex-girlfriend of A-Train is having a physical encounter with a male, and it does not end well for that man.
Yeah.
And it is just like the most graphic type thing. And Mel and I are watching it, we're like, oh God. Oh my
yeah, that
Lanta.
was.
That
Ooh,
was
that was
what
that
a
was
ride.
lot. What was her name?
The
Pop Claw?
Popclaw is her
Popclaw.
superhero name, yeah.
Yeah.
But going down the list, we have Anthony Starr as Homelander, and oh man, does he kill it!
Yeah, he's fantastic. I don't have no idea where he's from either. Has he been in anything else?
He's much more of a New Zealand actor. Yeah, he's done a lot of TV shows. He was in some cop show. He is like, I'm not trying to body shame or anything, but his suit is very padded. And it gives him more of that Superman type look, but because he's very skinny. I remember seeing him on Instagram. I followed them all on Instagram, and I was like, he's actually a really skinny dude. I didn't expect it, but his costume is so great. I love that red, white, and blue, American, proud, and all that.
Yep.
And it's funny because he is the center of this team, the Seven, and everybody looks up to him and respects him, and all the Seven fear him because he is the most powerful out of all of them. So in the comics, he is surprisingly worse.
Yeah, he's like he's basically an a-hole Superman.
Yeah, he's like it led to a very
he's Superman.
Easy. Why are you being so, now you're being a little extra mean.
Because no one
watch Hawkeye.
Because no one thinks Superman is the strongest.
What?
I would like for you to explain that.
Yeah, please.
Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, they can all rival him.
They can rival him, but
but this is what I'm saying. But
I'm gonna argue,
Homelander, who can rival Homelander?
Black Noir.
How do you know? No one knows anything about
his
him.
peanut allergy.
Well, it's funny because we'll talk about Black Noir in a few minutes, but he's very different than he was in the comics, and I'll explain my statement. You'll get it. Again, spoilers for the comics, guys. And sorry, Rob, I know you're reading them, but I'm going to spoil the crap out of them.
I got about 7 issues in, and then it was so far divergent that I'm like, all right, I'm just going to stick with the show.
Yeah,
it's still great. I encourage people to read the comics.
Well, I want to read the Hero Orgy storyline.
Oh, Herogasm.
Yeah, that they're going to try and adapt.
Oh, yeah.
Because there were things that they were not allowed to do at first. There's a scene of Homelander pleasuring himself over the city that they had to fight to put in, and it's like the last shot of season 2 that they finally were allowed to do it. And now the Herogasm story is terrified. But we have Erin Moriarty as Annie January / Starlight. She's the
Hope.
The Pope?
No, I said Hope.
Hope. Wait, what?
Jessica Jones.
Oh yeah.
Is she?
Yeah, she's
I
on.
don't think
She's
I made
on
the
Jessica
connection.
Jones. Yeah. I was like, that's
Like
another.
the Pope? What?
The Pope. I thought you said the Pope too, because she is a devout Christian.
She is.
She's another character that they introduce, and she's the newest addition to the Seventh. Because who gets retired? Not Lamplighter.
No, Translucent gets murdered.
No, they have. She's.
No, I think it's Lamplighter. Yeah.
Is it Lamplighter? Yeah.
So
They
You're
retire
right.
him.
You're right. Yep.
And so basically, she's like the new addition. She's hopeful and optimistic and
perky,
and then she gets immediately attacked by the Deep, the Aquaman ripoff, and that was one of the most painful. And then even worse, they then try and market it when she outs him for it. And I'm sitting there going, man, this is.
But you see what that happens every day
in Hollywood,
celebrities
and.
That when somebody gets, caught doing something, they try and see, well, how can we spin this and how can we remarket this for your popularity? Because their celebrity status is in fact a commodity.
Yes. So it's interesting because I think, Rob, you brought it up that Vought Industries in this, they are using the superheroes to
sell
pharmaceuticals, but also do all their other things. Like they do a great bit recently. They did for Disney Plus Day. They did Vought Plus Day.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
They mentioned Vought Plus on the show too. For I think they wanted to give A-Train his own show on Vought Plus. Like they like to poke fun at some of these other big corporations, which is hilarious in itself.
Yeah.
But they talk about that in the show, like, oh, action figure, it's merchandising.
Baseball's the flamethrower.
And that's what it is. So like they market Starlight, outing the Deep, and then they market the Deep, and then they kick him off the team. And do you want a Fresca? Anybody want a Fresca? But it's a very interesting, and I love Starlight. She's a character that I really enjoy. She's
authentic.
Yes.
All the characters go through hell on this show, like especially in season 2 with all the boys on the run. Starlight's the one. That scene in the elevator with Homelander is still like spine tingling, where you don't know what's going to happen. I do like to think that Starlight could, I don't want to say hold her own against Homelander, but also not die immediately.
Right.
I mean, she's got nothing except she can play with lights.
She was powerful enough to stop A-Train. So I don't know. It could.
Yeah.
I think you know as strong. So there's a great scene where they're trying to bring in new heroes, and they bring in like the Deaf Ninja because it's a play on Daredevil and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And Homelander just pops his ears.
Yeah.
Everybody has a weakness, and I'm sure, for all we know, Homelander can go blind.
Yeah,
We don't know his weakness.
Not yet, no.
his kid.
Kinda, yeah.
Well, I mean that's a different weakness. I'm thinking
and that's the thing is that I think you're thinking in terms of like which is the more powerful superhero, and sometimes it's all about strategy.
oh yeah.
well, yeah, that's why Batman could easily defeat
Right.
Superman.
Why is
if
everybody attacking me?
Well, I'm not attacking you. I'm saying if he had time to prepare. That's the thing. If it's just random fighting,
Right.
Superman's going to win 100 out of 100.
Right. If it's just force
But-
against force.
Yeah.
It's-
But if you have time to prepare,
Batman could probably
Batman
outsmart
could
him.
probably win a majority of them.
It's like the fight against Black Noir. Like they won by strategy, not by going head to head with
yeah.
him. Let's see. We have going down the list Dominique Migueliet as Queen Maeve.
Yep.
She is the one. She's the. I don't want
She's
to say
the
like
Wonder
the
Woman.
Yeah, she's
Wonder
definitely
Woman.
she's the Wonder Woman knockoff. I was gonna say she's kind of like the mother hen. She was there. She's been there the whole time. She knows, and I think after Starlight does get assaulted, she's the first one to kind of console her, but also kind of tell her this is just
the
how
way
it is.
Yeah.
Which that scene is directly ripped from the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
and
she went through that, or that's what you assume. You never find out if that's what that actually happened, but you kind of assume.
Well, we assume that she's the one. Well, she also just understands that it's the boys who are sort of in charge around here, and we girls have to just sort of like accept it.
We're the pretty face.
Yeah, and that's a commentary on corporate America, where it is very much like a boys'
Sex
club.
sells.
yeah, and marketing and all that stuff.
Yep.
Like, and they changed Starlight's costume so it's more suggestive.
Yep.
But one of my favorite scenes is the plane scene from the first season.
That's the point at which I went, this is dark and disturbing.
Yes.
That's the turning point.
When Maeve was actively like, we can't leave these people.
Right.
Like we can't. And Homelander's so smart in this show, but we don't give him credit all the time for it because he's not known for being smart. But he's the first one that's like, we can't take a single person because then they'll know we were here. Right. Mm-hmm. This plane needs to crash. I'm sorry. And like he's like, well, he doesn't say I'm sorry. He's like, we gotta go, and I'm either taking you with her or I'm leaving you here. And he shoots, like she asked, she's like, well, why can't you carry the plane? He's like, I can't. The weight differential. Right. You can't do that. There's always been a big debate in the comics why Superman's able to do things like that. Mm-hmm. Superman Returns does a great job with him in the plane, and you see it like crumpling under the effects of him trying to hold it. Somebody pointed out, I never noticed, he was actually trying to rip the wings off to make it easier for him to actually catch it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I never noticed that. So,
well, I think that comes back to the whole, like, the 1978 Superman when he catches Lois Lane falling off a building. Like, everyone's like, oh, if he were to really do that, she'd rip in half. And I think that was
all
a
of her
reaction.
momentum, he just stops.
Yeah, since then, we've had a physics reaction to most superhero things.
So fun fact, the reigning theory is Superman's got almost like an invisible shield around his body. That's why his suit doesn't always get damaged, that's why it's like a protective aura, and that's why he's invulnerable. Other comics have said it's just because his skin is so tough and the suit is skin tight. But there have been theories that when he grabs something, that aura kind of transfers to it, and that's why he's able to. Because like everybody's experienced it, you hold something just the wrong way, no matter how strong you are or how light it is, you just can't hold it. It's just basic physics. But I like how they brought it up. They talked about, like, I can't do this, so we have to go. And it is one of the most, like, gut punch moments. Yeah. And then he turns around and he goes on national TV when they're interviewing him, and he's like, I just wish we could have saved everyone. Yeah. Like, he's not dumb.
He's John Walker.
Easy.
I knew Rob was gonna like that one.
You know what? Scratch that. I can see comparisons, but at the end of the day, with John Walker was still trying to, in his mind, do the right thing. Homelander is just
he's the opportunist.
Yeah.
He's the opportunist. Yeah. John Walker, at least he was doing what he thought was right.
Yeah.
Whereas as Homelander is trying to do what's best for him.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's a big difference.
Going down the list, we have Jesse T. Usher as A-Train. I really enjoy The Flash. I enjoyed A-Train in this. I feel like they could have done more with his powers and what he did. I like the race he does. That was a fun episode. But he's the catalyst that starts Huey on
Right.
his journey, and it's he's there, and he's the one that kind of gets them. They know about Compound V and all that stuff. Otherwise, like he's great in the role. I like Jesse T. Usher, and it's even. I think I had more fun with him in the second season, where him and the
Deep?
and the Deep have their
the sort of
Yeah.
Scientology experience.
Yep.
because that's another thing. Like if superpowers did exist, the cults that would be formed.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in Superman, the Reign of the Superman story, when after Superman died, 4 Supermen kind of took his place. They do a story where there are cults devoted to these new Supermans.
Super people.
Yeah, so
I know you all know a lot of super people.
Yeah. So it's interesting when they do stuff like that, where they bring in these real world concepts, and I think this show and this comic were started of the simple concept. If superpowers were real, how would they affect the real world? Man of Steel tried to do it, and varying success depending on who you talk to. Shut up, Rob. But like Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, they bring up the ideas, but they just it's not as good execution.
And I wonder if that's sort of Garth Ennis's MO, because I know with Preacher's the concept of, what would happen if God just decided to not stick around? How would the whole universe sort of adapt, and how would we all...
Supernatural?
Yeah, that's true. And how would, religions and mankind sort of react to that? Or even just the heavens, how would the heavens react to it if God were suddenly to abandon his throne?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I like stuff like this. I like when things that challenge us and entertain us at the same time. Yeah. We have Alonzo. I'm really sorry if I'm butchering these names, as Mother's Milk or Marvin T. Milk. In the comics, there's a reason he's called Mother's Milk. I do believe it. I would have to double check, but he is the voice of reason of the boys, and he's the first one to call Billy Butcher out constantly. And I love in the first season where him and Frenchie had like this hatred of each other.
Yep.
And the scene in the van where he's like, "You didn't say he was going to be here," and it's just a lot of fun. But he's great in the role, and he's the real sacrifice of the boys, like where he's like, my wife, my kid. Like it's tough. Thoughts on Mother's Milk? Something I thought I'd never say.
It's a little sour. No, I'd have to agree. I think it's a unique character to have, but it's one that you grow to like. I think at first he kind of rubs you the wrong way. But overall, like you said, he's the voice of reason. He's doing this for a reason as well. Billy's like, I hate everyone and everything. He was like, I just want to get revenge on A-Train. And then Frenchie's like, well, I'm Frenchie and I like to do drugs and just shoot things and make things. And then you got Mother's Milk, who's like, listen, like, I'm here just because you're my friend and you need help, so I'm here to help you.
So let's talk about Frenchie, a character who I think went through the most character development of the boys, played by Tomar Capon. I really hope I'm saying that. But he does a really good job going from the arms trafficker, the criminal, to really building a relationship with Karen Fukuhara's character, Kimiko. And I think that relationship is one of the most fleshed out and just most genuine of the show. As much as I love Huey and Starlight, I like that relationship. I'll even say I liked Homelander and Stormfront as messed up as it was. Oh my gosh. It was like the weirdest. Yep. But I think Frenchie and Kimiko, who is a great character in her own right and does even better in the second season.
Yes.
I really enjoyed their back and forth and the friendship that they create, and then eventual, I don't want to say love interest, but that's kind of what they're gearing to.
Yeah.
But we do have Karen Fukuhara as the female of the species, also known as Kimiko. They just call her the female in the comics. It's the female of the species.
Because you have the boys.
She's one of those characters that has a lot of different powers. She's super strong, she's agile, and she's able to heal herself. Because I remember when Black Noir, quote unquote, killed her, we were like, oh no. But it turns out she was totally fine. Now, speaking of Black Noir, we got Nathan Mitchell as Black Noir, the silent superhero of the team, who is apparently allergic to peanuts. So, full spoilers, I warned you a few times. In the comics, Black Noir is actually a clone of Homelander.
Yes.
He is a clone that is under complete Vought control, and
In
he's
case Homelander ever gets out of
he's
control.
also designed to be stronger than Homelander.
Yeah.
So if Homelander ever did get out of line, so it turns out in the comics that it was actually Black Noir who raped and killed Billy Butcher's wife, and he thought it was Homelander, and that's why that started this whole grudge and vendetta. So it's interesting. It doesn't look like they're going that way with this, which is
It's
fine.
fine.
But they're gonna have to figure out a way to deal with Homelander by the time season 3 or 4 rolls around eventually, because
Yeah.
you know it's gonna keep going.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. We have Elizabeth Shue. We love Elizabeth Shue as Madelyn Sitwell. Season 1 regular, season 2 guest, awkward guest in season 2.
Yeah.
The shapeshifting guy takes her form too.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
awkward.
You know, that brings up another great question. If you were a shapeshifter, what would you do with it? And they go to the extreme with it.
Boy.
Oh yeah.
To the uncomfortable extreme, to the point where I think, doesn't he kill the shapeshifter as he's like
Yeah, he
Homelander?
does.
Yeah.
Oh God, it is a weird. We have Colby Maniffy as Ashley Barrett, the publicist and the assistant who eventually takes over. And it's funny because they just did the boys just released a video on Ashley and just how much abuse she actually takes in this thing.
Oh yeah.
And then we have one of the more controversial characters, and I want to hear some thoughts on her. Aya Cash as Clara Erningsinger, also known as Liberty, also known as Stormfront. Male in the comics, gender swapped for this. She's the foil, the antagonist for the most part of season 2, even though the entire team of the 7 is the antagonist. But Ronnie, thoughts on Stormfront?
You know, you love to hate her.
Oh yeah,
You know, like I thought it was a great character. I thought, Aya Cash did a great job, but it's one of those this is one of those people that if there was a superhero, this is one of them that would be out there who's selfish, obviously very close-minded and everything, and one that you wouldn't want as a superhero. I wouldn't even consider her a superhero, because when you think of superheroes, you think of positive and role model and everything, and she's not that at all, even though Vought portrays her to be. Oh look, we have this strong female, be like her, be like Maeve, but you don't know the background, and I mean, you can't blame Vought for that, because no one knew her background really, as Liberty, because when she was Liberty, she didn't do some nice things. She was, she killed
that entire family,
yeah.
beat the mom up in front of the kid,
Kids,
and
yeah.
it was rough.
So she had to change her name to Stormfront.
Yeah, and she's also immortal.
Yes.
She's lived forever. She's one of the first in this the TV series. She was part of the initial wave of Compound V, and I'm
The
curious
first,
to
wasn't
see. She was, but I think
Or the first successful
they're going to articulate in this new season that I think Soldier Boy, played by Jensen Ackles, was actually the first. As more of a play against Captain America, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe in the comics, Soldier Boy was like a bitch. Like, he performed oral sex on Homelander at one point.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So again, they're taking liberties, and that's fine.
Yeah.
For the most part. Like, I'm sure the boys, the comic books, has like a really strong following, obviously enough to build its own show.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine for them to take. This is the perfect show, or the perfect property to adapt to a more modern time, and also you have to take liberties, but you also have to censor it to a point with Prime, because the comics are mess.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like it is hard to read some of those comics. If you're squeamish, it's not for you.
Yeah.
No.
It's in the vein of Walking Dead and Preacher, even some of the more like darker things, like a good Constantine
It's
book.
very sexually explicit.
Yeah.
Very
And
sexually
actually, it's
explicit.
funny you should even mention Constantine, because Ennis used to do Hellblazer.
Yes.
I want to mention about Stormfront. It poses an interesting problem where if you actually are better than most people, at what point do you start to think you're better than most people and start to look down on everybody else? And that's sort of because Stormfront is deeply, deeply racist, and what would you be if you were female misogynist?
A Nazi.
I mean, I guess you could still be misogynist.
No, I gotta look that one up. But
Is misogyny a female?
Yeah,
so-
GYN in there is the root word for
Man, we're gonna
feminine.
have to figure this out. Now we're all curious. Ronnie's typing it in.
But yeah, that poses an interesting problem. Is that when you really are better than everyone else, when do you lose that altruistic ability to want to help everyone and just say, you know what, they're not worth it because they're not as good as I am. Ronnie's got an answer.
Misandry.
Misandrist?
Yep.
Okay.
It's hatred of or contempt for or prejudice against men.
Misandrist.
Interesting.
That makes sense, actually.
It's funny you bring that up because I know Batman has made many comments about Superman. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but he does make mention that Clark's one of the best, like the most powerful beings on the planet, but it's for our sake that he doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
And it brings up the age-old question is, if you are a god, if you start thinking about yourself as a god, the whole world is really in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's why Starlight, like a character like her, is such a great character, because she does have godlike powers enough to be on the Seven, but at the end of the day, she's like, I'm just a normal person trying to do the right thing.
So I wonder then if this show isn't so much about superheroes as much as it is about the study of corruption, and at what point does corruption start to creep into a human being? Like how far along do they get in their own personal journey of success and wealth and fame before they become corrupted? Because that's an age-old question in most celebrity culture.
Power corrupts,
Yeah.
absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So they tackle these things and they bring it up, and that's why Homelander, he feels that he's so untouchable, and that's why who's the guy they introduced? It's gonna drive me crazy because I have trouble the guy who takes over Vought after
Giancarlo's character,
Yes.
Esposito.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Go
going to
ahead.
drive me crazy. But they introduce him, and he's able to put Homelander on such a short leash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's really cool how they do it, and I really enjoy what they do with his character. And just, there he goes. Giancarlo Esposito as Stan Edgar.
Yes.
Yes. And like
who's the real bad guy and has no superpowers.
Yes,
Yeah.
and in the one scene he really shared with Homelander, he puts Homelander in his place. And it's just a great scene. And like this show has so many great scenes, great moments.
And that's something that's studied a lot nowadays. Is it's not who are the most powerful people in our world? It's not
People with
necessarily
money.
the presidents and the dictators. It's the people with money. It's the heads of corporations that are making the decisions for most of us.
Yeah.
If you look at so many, I'm just thinking of, like, for example, milk. Milk over the past 40 years or so, the dairy industry promoted this image of, like, you need milk and everything for
Got
healthy.
milk?
Yeah, and they promoted this, and then years later came out that milk isn't as essential as we thought it was, and actually causes a great deal of respiratory issues. But because they were the ones that had the money and pushed it, they were the ones that controlled the message. And again, that's what's happening in the world right now. Is the ones who have the money are the ones that are controlling the message.
Yeah.
the ones who control the media, who control all that stuff, and we could get into a whole diatribe about the current political,
That's for
economic.
MF Uncensored.
That is for MF Uncensored, and that would be a fun episode as long as we have safe words and we stop each other from killing each other. But it's funny because you bring in, like, they don't even talk about politics in the show, which is surprising. They do bring up obviously Stormfront and her Nazi background, but.
It's more woven into the fabric than
It's
being
there.
outright.
It's there, and they talk about it. But it's funny because we can have a conversation about politics right now, and all three of us probably won't agree in any way, shape, or form. But then you talk about something like how the rich and powerful control way more than we possibly imagine. All these things, and we're all like,
I mean, if you think about it, the people who are pushing space travel right now are the richest people in the world right now. They're the ones that are breaching that. Where you've got Branson, Elon Musk, and who's the third? Bezos.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are controlling space exploration, whereas years ago it was government funded money with NASA.
So it's a great, like, that's what's great about this show is it's so reflective of our modern world.
Not Brandon.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no, not Brandon.
Oh, I thought you said I thought you said Branson.
Did I?
too?
Maybe I
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Okay.
I thought you did too.
It's
But
definitely not Brandon.
so one of my favorite things though is season 1 was great. Season 2 was even
Was greater.
better. It was even greater. But
Much more greater.
there are very few shows that get better as they go on. So we're really hoping season 3 is coming out sometime next year. I'm not sure the exact date off the top
They
of my
don't
head.
have it out
They
yet.
don't have a date yet.
But they've been filming it. They're pretty much done. They're introducing Jensen Ackles right off of Supernatural. They announced that he would be doing this.
That's gonna be 2 supernatural characters.
Yes, they did introduce. They did have Jim Beaver on the show
Yep.
because Eric Kripke is the creator of the show.
Yes.
Which we didn't even bring up.
Where
so
was Jim Beaver in the show?
he played a couple of roles, of episodes.
He played Robert Singer. He was the Secretary of Defense.
Was he really actually
really?
Robert Singer?
Yeah.
No,
No,
you're lying. You're lying to me.
Hand to God. He was
I'm looking
Robert
this up.
Singer.
I'm looking this up right now. There's also somebody named Barbara Gordon in this. That's hilarious.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Oh man, come on. Jim Beaver as dang it, he's right. Robert Bob Singer. Oh, that's so funny.
What was it on Supernatural? He's like, what kind of a jerk names
Names
a
a
character
character
after himself?
Yep.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because we watched this show before producer Melanie watched
Same here.
Supernatural.
Yeah.
So I remember watching it, going, "Oh, it's Bobby." She's like,
No, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
"Well, no." So I had already,
Yeah.
I was up to date. And she's like, "Who's Bobby?" I was like, "Oh, from Supernatural." Well, one day we'll watch it. We're on season 13, finally. But yeah, we're making progress. But now we're watching Lost in Space. But that's really funny. I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I didn't either.
This show has also a lot of fun cameos. You got Jimmy Fallon,
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen, Billy Zane,
Oh,
Tara
Seth
Reid.
Rogen is one of the producers too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In season 2, I don't think in season 1.
Season 2,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, I know he was the one that brought Preacher. He's a big
Yes.
Garth Ennis fan. So
also Sean Ashmore as Lamplighter. I really like Sean Ashmore, so I'm glad he was fun in this. And then he lists all the 7 porn parodies. That is one of the funniest scenes in season 2. And we can't not mention the most powerful superhero on this show
Andrew Jackson.
as Love Sausage. Dang it, Ronnie, get out of my head. Apparently in the comics,
yeah,
Love
he has a much bigger role in the comics. Oh
yeah. Did you
Get it?
Did you have
Bigger?
to use those words?
sorry.
Yeah, bigger. His role was pretty bad. So if you guys are not following any of these actors on social media, they showed behind the scenes stuff of that scene, which we're not going to explicitly describe, but it is one of the funniest things. So I think that pretty much wraps us up for our discussion. Star City ratings we'll do for both seasons as of right now, seasons 1 and 2. If you feel that you want to do 2 separate ones, that's fine. But Ronnie,
So I think overall, this show's like a 4-5. Even though I would give season 1 a 4.
I was about to say season 4 is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, right. And season 2 a 4.5. Just because I think season 2 is a step above season 1, so I can't be like, 4, 5, and then 5, because obviously there's really no 5s ever made, in my opinion. So I would say a 4, 4, 5, but overall it's like a 4 or 5 average.
Rob?
I'm going to go straight 4-5 for both seasons. Number one, because the first season was the first time it was introduced, so it laid all the groundwork, which is always really, really hard. And then season 2 doubled down on that and made it better. So that in itself is its own feat. So I could easily go 4-5. I think it's easily one of the best shows that's on television right now. It's just tackling so many unique and difficult topics, and in a very unique way. So fantastic show.
So I'm going to say 4 for season 1, 4.5 for season 2. This show is Amazon's Stranger Things. It is the show that put them on the map.
This is so much better. I could not get into Stranger Things.
Oh, I watched all of
I'm
Stranger
probably
Things.
one of like 5 people in the
yeah.
world.
I like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, this is the show that Amazon Prime was like, it showed that it could be a contender in its programming. Now they've got shows like, Jack Ryan's doing really well. Reacher's coming out.
I can't wait for Reacher.
Yeah.
With Hawk from
I
Titans.
know.
We're
Yeah.
psyched. Yeah. He got huge. Like, he was always
Yeah.
ripped, but he's even bigger now. But that's neither here nor there. But for me, this show has not only aged well with time and retrospection, like, it is just so incredibly good. And it's one of the shows where, so you have a show like Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Game of Thrones went on for 6 seasons, 8 seasons.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Producer Melanie loved it. Obviously, a lot of people hate the last season because decisions were made that don't reflect the characters.
Correct.
So, and that's the biggest issue. For me, this show is fantastic because it can take sort of the liberties, but it also stays so true to these characters.
Yeah, I will say season 8 of Game of Thrones. Well, because it was so rushed, and the writers were trying to move on to other stuff, and R.R. Martin was trying to get 10 seasons out of it because they easily could have, and they said, "Now we got to wrap this up." And HBO, I think, didn't want to sink any more money into it, so they ended up compromising so many of their characters into, it was inauthentic. It just didn't seem at all like
you needed another season to explain how they got there.
It was so rushed.
It reminds me of Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim was written and done the movie before the comic books were finished.
Yes, that's true.
So for this, the comic books, I don't know if they're still going on. The boys.
No, they're done. I think they ended at 76 issues.
So they have all of their material, but I can easily see the show going for 4 or 5 seasons. The problem is with streaming services, it's about getting new people to come in and watch. And unfortunately, that's why on Netflix, they don't do a lot of seasons because the goal is to get more and more people. They're not making money off these shows.
No.
So they try and create new content constantly to get new subscribers. Here's the best way to explain it. I hate when people ask me, how do they start reading comics?
Oh, like what's the end?
Trying to get somebody to read a comic for the first time, I go, you can't do it. You have to, at this point nowadays, you have to go to a bookstore and buy a graphic novel collection. Yeah. You have to buy like one of those giant books. Like I have I have the entire Watchmen series in one book upstairs because that's unfortunately the way you have to do it now.
And graphic novel is probably the best way to get into it too.
Yes, it tests the water, and then you start with series as they go on. Comic book reading is research at this point.
I just read something the other day that a book just came out. The name escapes me of the book about a guy who read. He discovered that there are 27,000 issues in Marvel. Wow! And he decided
Peter
that
Parker has most of them.
and he decided to read almost all of them to try and get a sense of the entire Marvel universe and explore sort of trends and origins and everything.
Just watch the movies.
And
but even that, trying to explain somebody how to get into the Marvel universe.
There's 7,000 different ways.
Yeah, there's too much. All right, so I have a question then for you.
7.
Since we are talking about season 1 and 2, what are your hopes for season 3?
I want Jensen Ackles' Soldier Boy to be the ultimate foil to Homelander. I want him to be so opposite of Dean Winchester that we're not sure what to do. Because that's the thing. Jensen Ackles is one of my favorite just people. I love Jensen Ackles. I follow him very closely with the Family Brewing Company and his relationship with his wife and just all the things he's doing for Warner Brothers and now Amazon. And I really enjoy his career. I've seen him in a lot of things, Jason Todd, My Bloody Valentine, like all that stuff. Yeah. Smallville, that's where I first met him, on Smallville. I want him to not be Dean Winchester. That's my biggest hope.
You want him to be Sam Winchester?
No, nobody wants him to. And say what you will about
Old Man Sam.
We don't talk about Old Man Sam. But say what you will about Walker. Yeah. But it plays against Jared Padalecki.
Oh, does it?
He's not Sam Winchester in it.
I've never watched it.
I've watched the first episode. We just didn't get into it.
Yeah.
But that's not a testament to how bad it was.
Right.
It's
still going on for a couple seasons now.
It's the CW.
Yeah.
It's hard to cancel a show on the CW. But I want this season to really reevaluate, because now the boys are funded by the CIA. Yeah. Right? They are the team of people that keep the supers in line. The entire dichotomy of this show is about to shift really hard, and I want them to have a reason for bringing in Soldier Boy and for him to be this absolute foil to Homelander. Because say what you will about Stormfront, she started off as a foil to him, and then turned into almost like the groomer for him to make him literally what Vought wanted. So that's for me. Okay. Ronnie?
Yeah. I kind of agree with you. I can't wait to see Jensen Ackles in the show and, see what he brings to this character and everything. I'm hoping for more of the same. Now, usually that's not a good thing to say about TV shows, but I think with this show, they've been hitting it, hitting the nail on the head with every single episode. I can't think of like any episode, season 1 or season 2, where I was like, that was all right or whatever. So I'm just hoping they keep, they have kind of like the MCU, right? They have this formula. They know it works. They do it in every movie, and it still is like shock and amazement every time you go see an MCU movie. For the most part, there's, little outliers here and there.
Spider-Man. I hope.
So I think, just they have a formula, right? Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So just more of what we've been seeing, character growth, character development, and lots of Jensen Ackles.
Rob?
Head explosions.
That's fair. That is so fair. Those are always the most shocking moments to see.
Holy cow.
A lot of head explosions.
No, I don't have any real expectations. Just to keep up the quality. I'm hoping it doesn't. I hope they all stay. I'm looking at a picture of Soldier Boy now, Jensen Ackles, and he looks fantastic.
Oh yeah, I would wear that costume for
yeah.
Halloween.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see, knowing the showrunners and the writers, they're going to take it to some uncomfortable places, and I'm excited to see what they do with it. So just a lot more of the same, and just keep pushing the envelope.
Yeah. So we would love to hear your thoughts. Now, a couple of just housekeeping things. Number one, first and foremost, I try to combine those phrases. First and foremost, we did add a little bit to our website. We changed it up a little bit. So if you guys go onto our website, you're going to see 2 brand new pages. One is the Contact Us page. If you guys have a thought about anything that we talk about, or have a suggestion, or have a request, let us know. Go to that page. Tell us what's what and what you kind of want to see in our show.
I'll tell you what's what.
I'll tell you what's what. But also, we are looking for more and more people to interview on our brand new show called MF Uncensored. MF Uncensored is basically a show about people with interesting stories. We have set up dozens of interviews with amazing people. We have podcasters, we have authors, we have actors, we have politicians, we have police officers. We have so many people that just have such a unique take on the world and have such great stories to tell. So that just launched this very
couple days ago.
3 days ago, and the response so far has been really great, and we're really excited it's been a project that we've been working on and throwing time and money and this and that, and just it's really starting to show. So we want to get more people on it. We have a whole list of people that are on. Basically, we have a waiting list, which is fantastic. So if you have a unique story or a unique job or anything like that, go onto our website, themisfitfaction.com. Go to the Contact Us page. Tell us about it. We'd love to hear from you. You'll also find our friends and affiliate page. We have a lot of friends at this point. We have people that we have a lot of friends. We have people that we've just experienced such great times with, and
what is it?
yeah. But if you go on that page, you'll find first and foremost Neil Getzlow. He's a fantastic author. He wrote a book called Unmasking, I believe it's called, or Unmasked, excuse me. We just got our copy upstairs, and we did a great interview with him on MF Uncensored. He's been a big supporter of our show. So if you go on our website, you can read a little bit more about him and also find a link to his book, which I've been devouring. I'm already 2 chapters in, just having it for like 15 minutes. But you'll also find Bibliophiles Assemble from producer Melanie. I Said Yes Fitness. Did I get it right that time?
There you go.
By our dear friend and Ronnie's dear fiance. Financier.
My finance.
And our good friend Brendan from Blind Bat on a YouTube channel. So he's been on the show a few times, so you'll recognize him when you see him. But we're really excited with the amount of growth that we've got. We have so much great content coming for you guys. So make sure you go to our website. That's where you're going to find all of our podcasts first and foremost. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, download. Downloads are the biggest thing. Reviews are the biggest thing. If you guys like the service that we're doing, please let us know. We want to do more, but we need good reviews and we need all that stuff first. So I think that pretty much wraps us up. Did I get everything, Ronnie?
I think. Do we have our fan feedback Friday?
Oh,
do we have our fan? Well,
goodness for Ronnie.
Unfortunately, fan feedback Friday was a little lacking because somebody decided they wanted to get nose surgery today. Or when did you get it done?
On Wednesday.
On
so
Wednesday.
I've been out of school for 3 days.
What a silly guy.
Sorry, my class. We didn't get to do fan feedback Friday today.
Yeah, so if anybody else has
So
that
our
available,
fan feedback Friday, basically, our question was, So after the debut of Roger the Musical from Hawkeye, what superhero should get their own musical, and what would the title song be? So we had somebody that said Steel, but only if Shaq reprises the role. Title song: I can't act or sing, but I make more money than you. We also had somebody say Loki, and the song would be a love letter to himself.
I will argue, and I didn't realize this as I posted it, but they did do a play of Loki the Great in Thor Ragnarok.
Yep.
But it wasn't a musical, so I still stand by it.
Producer Melanie said Deadpool.
Of course she did.
We have Polka Dot Man, the musical opening song. I'm spot on, Mom.
No.
That was Timmy. Timmy came up with that one.
That's
and then we
wonderful.
had Groot, the title song. I Am Groot.
Oh my God, it's like poetry.
I would like to also make a pitch for my Forks Over Knives musical.
Anyway,
now
sorry, not Forks Over Knives. Forks on the left.
Yes, there it is.
Yeah, right.
Knives is
But back
movie.
to the Loki one. The title song would be "Love Is Like a Dagger."
Oh God, of course it is. It's funny because Rob recently did his review for Hawkeye. Episodes 1 and 2 are up. We haven't episode 3 comes out on Monday. But he did put in not only a picture of him at this show, but he did mention Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark in it.
Yes.
And that was a very interesting experiment on Broadway, which the show was apparently very good.
The production value was amazing. Like, the sets were beautiful, the costumes were incredible.
The injuries were terrible.
The music was just okay, which is odd considering that Bono wrote the music. And the plot was, I couldn't tell you any of it.
Yeah, but it's interesting because Rogers the Musical was one of the highlights of the first episode of Hawkeye, so I thought it was a fun one. But I think that pretty much wraps us up for tonight. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Ronnie.
And I'm Rob.
And as always, we will be back in a flash.
See ya.
Borg.